Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alla. I'm a homeschooling mother of two and I work full-time outside the home. If you're new around here, thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be talking about what we're going to do as our family basket. I know it's oftentimes referred to as circle time, morning basket, and things like that, and we've actually done all sorts of those varieties. We started off as doing it as morning basket because at that time I did not work, and so we were able to utilize the mornings, get together, do all that, but my kids were a lot younger. And then we moved into what I called our afternoon basket. It just made more sense to do it in the afternoon after bellies were full and everyone was able to pay attention. And now we have morphed into what we call family basket. Since now my husband and I both work outside the home, it is kind of a time for us to get back together, to connect with one another, and we usually are already in our pajamas, we're relaxing, and so we spend all this time kind of going together. So none of these are subjects that really pertain to school, like we don't do history together, we don't do science together. However, we do enrichment, or what we call enrichment subjects. And so today I'd like to show you what we're going to be using. First off, I wanted to say thank you for joining me today as we discuss what we're going to do for our family basket. And I do want to say that just because our family decided to do this, it does not mean that your family has to. This is just an option of how we like to end our evenings as a family and things like that. And so anything that I show here, I will try to link down below. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the comments area. If you see me looking down, it's because I have a cheat sheet, a little schedule of what we do and what we use, and I'm just going to run down what we often go through. So the first thing that we start our family basket off with is World Watch News. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it, but if you have not, it is a 10-minute segment of what has been happening in the world, kind of like 10-minute segments to catch the kids up so that they are aware of current events, but it doesn't really have a bias necessarily in them. I do love it. My kids thoroughly enjoy it. And we've been watching it for about 2 years and we enjoy it. That is the best way to get my kids to hurry up and get into their pajamas or hurry up and finish up whatever activity they're doing so that we can meet up in our family room and we can start this family basket off. So that's the first thing that we do. The next thing that we do is we do our Bible check-in. And for that, it is what we do personal devotions. I know sometimes my kids benefit from me kind of talking about what I have learned in my personal devotions, and they have grown to really love that. And so what I personally use is the studies from the Daily Grace Co. And that's what my kids have opted to do this year as well. I have a couple of them here. My daughter has requested to do the Psalm study. This is Psalms 1 through 30. She'll be doing that. Psalms 31 through 60. 61 to 90, and as far as I know, this is the last one, the most current one that came out. It is Psalms 91 to 120. I have done these as well, and I really love them. There was a lot of conversations that I've been able to bring up, and so that's why she picked this. For my son, he has picked Faith Foundations for Teens. He's a preteen, but none of this is above his head. I feel like he has a pretty good grasp on it, so he's looking forward to this. The next one he has is Confidence in Christ, also for teens. The next one he picked is Standing Firm, Putting on the Full Armor of God. That's what he's going to be doing. And the last one is Growing in Grace. So those are the ones that they've picked. How long that's going to take us, I'm quite not sure. But those are the ones that we do the personal devotions on. We kind of check in with each other, what we found interesting, what we have a question on. This sometimes goes longer than other days. Sometimes we're like, nope, everything's fine. We understood everything, and it kind of just moves on along. It kind of just depends on the day. The next thing that we do is we do hymn study. And the hymn study that we do is from Happy Hymnody. It's online. I can link it down below. We loved it. They'll give you the hymn of the month, and they actually have a YouTube channel where they'll sing it for you. Sometimes we find another version off Spotify. It kind of just depends. But that's the hymn that we study for the month. So next we go on to verse memorization, and this one is only for my son. Through our church that we attend, they have a program that they go through, and he has to learn the verses. So that just gives us a time to check in with him to make sure he's learning it, to making sure that he's staying on track. Oftentimes it's just him and my son and my husband going back and forth. They just kind of review it. My daughter sometimes helps in. It kind of all depends on what's going on that day, but we usually try to hit verse memorization for my son. The next thing that we do is Catechism. And I believe I have all 3 books, but we're still working through the first book of Truth and Grace memory book. And this is just catechisms, questions and answers, things like who is God, what does every sin deserve, what is sin, what is sanctification, things like that, where it just kind of helps them lock in the truths of the Bible. They have Bible references. Whenever we go to a new question, we'll pull out the Bible, we'll read those references, talk about it, see if we fully understand what we're saying and how we're answering and why we're answering it that way. And this is quite a good book. We've been at this book for probably 4 years, and we are only on question 52. So we're not even close to being done. But I do like these. My kids really do enjoy them. Then the next thing that we are finishing up is theology. And I've seen this book. I've seen a lot of YouTubers use it, and we really, really enjoy it. It's, again, kind of going over the basics, kind of just repeating the same truths in a different format. And so we just rotate to see who reads that day. We are more than halfway done. So once this is done, I don't have another one to replace it. I know that there's another book like this. I haven't decided if I'm going to replace it yet or not. We're just going to work through this until we're done. We'll make a decision then. And then we go on to Apologetics. This year, we are moving into the master books, answer questions for teens, I believe. It's called the New Answers. So this is a 5-book set, and we're just gonna take it one book at a time. I would love to get through all of this before my daughter graduates high school. Whether we do or don't, I have no idea. We'll just take one question at a time, see how long it takes us. I have no idea, but this is just what we're planning. On top of that, or after this, the next book that we're planning on going through is Falling Flat. It's also by, I got it from Master Books. And the reason why is because my kids have run across a few people who have talked about the world being flat. And so I thought this would be, it's a pretty thick book. I haven't looked at it. I don't know how dry and complicated it is, but this is something that since my kids have ran across it, I thought it would be a good idea to address the issue. So we'll see how this one goes. The next thing that we do is Generations of Grace. And I think this is kind of what started our whole entire evening basket moving to the evening, or family basket moving to the evening, because my husband wasn't there when we did a lot of younger level studies, and he kind of felt like he was missing out. And so he really wanted to participate and teach the kids. And so he picked this one, and we really do like it. It's simple. There is something every single lesson. They have a scripture that we read, and then there's a little bit of explanation, then there's questions to ask, and then discussion questions. And it's probably no more than 15 minutes depending on what the discussion questions are. How far we're going to get in this, I have no idea. We just take it one question at a time, one day at a time, and that's just what we do. The next thing that we move on to is our read-alouds. And we like to do a Christian read aloud. I'm going to show you all the ones that I plan on doing this year. How many of these we get through? Again, I don't know, but it kind of just depends. And with read alouds, depending on the level, we'll kind of rotate who reads a chapter. So each person will read a chapter. If I start, then my husband will start the next one or whatever. And we'll just, or maybe we'll decide to do popcorn reading. It kind of just depends on what everyone's mood is that day. So the first read aloud we're going to do is Eric Liddell, and my kids, I'm pretty sure, have read this. I've had these on the shelf, but we're just going to focus on it as a read aloud for this coming year. Corrie ten Boom, and then the next one we're going to read is Yesterday, Today, and Forever, and this is I believe this is a a biography about Maria von Trump, and because we're following this with Corrie ten Boom, right? So it's kind of like the same era, different perspective. My kids love The Sound of Music. I think the first time that they watched it, my son was probably 4, and he sat the whole time watching it. He loves it. I love that movie. My husband not so much, and that's okay. And so my kids really, when they saw this come in, they were really, really excited. So then we're gonna have George Mueller, Mary Slessor, and the last one, I got this recommendation from Ashley from Grace and Grit, and that is the KGB's Most Wanted. So one of the reasons why this one sounds so appealing is because this is me and my parents' era. I was born in Soviet Russia, and we left right before the Soviet Union fell, and so the story of him and how he immigrated and where his churches are in California. A lot of the people my parents know, a lot of the people look familiar, a lot of places look familiar, so this is near and dear to our family. I wanted to show my kids what it's like, what it was like living in Soviet Russia, and so I don't have a lot of memories, but I thought that this would be very fascinating because this touches very close to home. And so if those are the books that we get through, I would be very, very happy. The next thing that we do is we do poetry, and so we do Sing a Song of Seasons, and this is quite a hefty book. It's heavy. We have it sitting in our living room on a stand, and we just pick, each kid just rotates and they read a song. And they read a poem, and each poem is dated, and my kids love this. We've gone through it probably 3 times, and they still ask for it. They still don't want to get rid of it. They still want to read it, so we're still including that. And this year, I also found Sing a Song of Popcorn. And this one is not dated like the other one is, but it has a whole bunch of different ones as well. So we might just read one poem. Whoever the kid is going to be reading the poem, the next kid is probably going to be reading one of these. My kids like poetry. I never grew up really with it. I know that my parents did, but I did not, and so I kind of like these. I really do. So that's one aspect of our poetry. There's another one coming. The next thing that we do is we do Russian flashcards. Again, that's the language of choice that we're going to teach our kids, mostly just because me and my husband are Russian, and so we have these flashcards that we do. Okay, so the next thing that we do is what I call focus. And for our focus is we do, and this is where I bring in Shakespeare, artist study, composer study. And we have never done a Shakespeare study, and so I picked this one up from simplycharlottemason.com. This one is recommended as one of the first ones. I guess it's an easier one. I do like the structure of it. I do like the way she explains of how to go about this. So I'm really excited. My kids are really excited about this. This was on the docket to do last year. Last year was kind of crazy. We never got around to it. So this year, that's what we're going to do. We're going to start off with this. And then we're going to do picture study. If you watched my room tour, you saw that I had a bunch of these. This is probably our 8th or 9th that I'm purchasing. And this year we're going to do Rembrandt. And my kids love these. They think these are fun. They're simple and they're quick, yet they're able to recognize these pictures and paintings in books and in art studios or on postcards or anything like that where they see them. So these have always been a huge hit in our family. So that's another focus. And the next one that we're going to do is a composer study. Again, in the room tour you saw I had a bunch of those. I don't want to get rid of them. I could lend them out to a friend if they need them, but so far I have the same ones as my friends do. So far there's no need to swap or anything like that. And then this year we're going to do Mozart for our composer study. Again, I'll turn on this music while we are actually doing the study, or the next day I'll turn it on Spotify and listen to it while the kids do school. They really are starting to recognize these composers. It's a lot of fun when they hear remixes or anything like that. They're like, wait, that sounds like, so-and-so, or that sounds like Beethoven, or, And it's a lot of fun. They really do like classical music. Again, I didn't really grow up with this, so it's kind of fun to like sit with them and do this with them, because I really like it now. So the next thing that we're going to do is actually we're going to try to finish what we started last year. And last year we started the Constitution from the Good and the Beautiful. We are on lesson 14. Yeah, lesson 14. It has been a while. We've tried to do this. It's lengthy. It's in depth. There's a lot to it. And so sometimes we really just have time to do like 10 minutes of it. And so it's taking us a long time. There's an additional read aloud that comes with this. My kids love the read aloud. My husband loves it too. And they're like, don't read it without us. If my husband's working, he's like, please wait for me to come home. So oftentimes there's reasons why we skip it or we put it off. And so that's why we're still doing this. My kids love it. So the next component, when I said I was going to come back to poetry, is poetry memorization. We did this a couple years ago. My kids loved it. They loved the beginning poems. We don't use it how it's recommended. We use it how we kind of want it. We memorize a poem until they know it, and then we move on. If it's something that's too lengthy, if I read it to them, they're like, nah, I don't have an interest. We skip that one, we move on. But they start off really simple with the first one, like ooey gooey. It's very short, it's very sweet. My kids love it. They get a kick out of it. So we'll see how far we get. They actually requested this to come back. They saw my stuff. They're like, wait, where's the poetry? It's back now. They requested it. I'm going to listen to them. If they want it, we'll do it. So after the poem memorization, we are bringing in the Tuttle Twin book. I'm sure you've seen these around, and it comes in a set. It's a whole bunch of them. I have them organized in the order that we're going to read them. And we're going to read logical fallacies. And this is going to go with with my daughter's curriculum for the fallacy detective, there we go. It's going to go with that one and the thinking toolbox. So this one I thought would be good. Then modern villains. The next one is courageous heroes, kind of balance it with the villains. Now we're going to do the heroes. And then we have beware of your bias. Once again, going back to that critical thinking, talking about it, discussing it, seeing how they understand it. And I think that's it. And the way that we love to close our family basket is we do prayers. And we do family prayers. And I got these from the Daily Grace Co. And these are, I believe they're called prayer cards for kids. Yeah, it's called 31 Days of Prayer for Kids. I just put them on a ring. I hole punched them and put them on a ring so that we can just keep rotating through. This I have really loved. And the reason why we ended up getting these is at one point, my kids just felt uncomfortable to pray. Even though we pray quite often, they felt uncomfortable to pray. This has been such a great way for them to learn to pray out loud. I know with me, I'm the same way where I can pray silently and I feel confident, but as soon as someone asks me to pray out loud, I get nervous and tongue-tied. And this is just a good way for them and for myself to practice to pray out loud, to how to get coherent thoughts out, right? And so this has been really, really fun. Okay, and the last thing that I will include is something more of a one-on-one study. We do this where we separate, my husband and my son go off and me and my daughter go off, and that is just talking about changing bodies, puberties, all that stuff, the birds and the bees, right, all the things. And so this year the ones that I got, and this one was going to be for my son, is what's the big deal? And for my daughter, it's going to be facing the facts. Again, I got these book recommendations from Ashley from Grace and Grit. I looked through them. I really do enjoy them. She's entering that stage. I just want to make sure that everyone is on the same page and everyone's understanding it so she doesn't feel uncomfortable and my son doesn't feel uncomfortable. And so once a week, or maybe once 3 weeks, once a month, maybe, depending on how things work out, we usually then separate and go through these books, or if we have any questions, or we talk about whatever might be on our mind. So thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions, please post them down below. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.